Okay, let's unpack this. We're doing a deep dive today into running a phase 1 clinical trial in Australia. Specifically, the costs and the strategic side of things. We know you want the essential info fast, and looking at our sources, the big theme here seems to be, well, financial leverage.
Precisely. And what's really interesting is that the material doesn't just frame Australia as cheap. It's more about strategic cost effectiveness. Yes, the total cost varies. That's true for any trial. But the real kicker, the game changer, is that R&D tax incentive. It fundamentally shifts how you look at the final cost.
Right, okay. So if the total cost can swing quite a bit, let's dive into the budget components. Where's the money actually going? Looking at the main budget slices, the biggest piece, maybe 30 to 40%, that goes to clinical site costs. So site fees, paying investigators, participant costs.
Yeah, all that. And that makes sense, right? You need quality sites running efficiently. After that, you've got two other major chunks, pretty much equal weight, around 20 to 25% each. That's drug manufacturing and supply on one hand, and data management and monitoring on the other.
Data management, like electronic data capture, EDC systems, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Absolutely crucial for getting clean data quickly and, well, keeping things on track for analysis.
Okay, those are the big three buckets. What about the next tier, the supporting costs?
Right. So then we're looking at patient recruitment and retention. That usually takes about, say, 10 to 15% of the budget. It's a really critical spend, actually, because dropouts get expensive fast. And then there's regulatory and ethics compliance, smaller, maybe 5 to 10%, but obviously mandatory, covering ethics committees' submissions.
Got it. Now, let's talk strategy. This is where it gets really interesting for sponsors, right? How do you actually reduce that final cost? The sources are pretty clear. The number one lever is that R&D tax incentive, a potential reimbursement of up to 43.5% on eligible spending. That's huge.
It absolutely reshapes the economics. It's massive. But beyond that direct financial incentive, you also have operational strategies. Optimizing the study design is key, maybe adaptive trials to potentially reduce participant numbers. And using technology like remote monitoring can really slash those operational costs, travel costs.
Okay, and that seems to link directly to choosing the right partners. The material points towards smaller CRO clinical research organizations. Why them? What's the advantage over the big global players?
Well, it often boils down to lower overheads, for one, and sometimes more flexible pricing models. But it's also about agility. Smaller CROs can often offer more personalized service, quicker decisions. They usually have deep local expertise, which helps avoid bottlenecks. It keeps things moving efficiently and, yeah, cheaper.
And to really see that Australian advantage, you have to compare it maybe to the US.
Exactly. Australia has that huge tax refund, the 43.5%, plus a really streamlined regulatory process. It's called the Clinical Trial Notification, or CTN process. Much faster.
Right, compared to the US, where you have the IND, the Investigational New Drug Application. That's known to be way more complex, takes longer.
Much more complex, much more time-consuming. Plus, generally speaking, investigator fees and site fees tend to be higher in the U.S. So yeah, the time to get started and the overall financial load can be significantly heavier stateside.
Okay, let's get to the hard numbers then. What are we actually talking about for average phase 1 trial costs in Australia? The sources suggest a range, typically AU $2 million to AU $4 million. That's roughly US 1.2 to 2.5 million.
Yep, that's the typical range for the total cost. But, and this is the crucial point, you have to factor in that potential 43.5% R&D tax refund. When you look at the net cost after incentive, it's drastically lower. We're talking potentially cutting the effective cost almost in half.
So execution is key to realizing those savings. What are the success factors for managing costs well? Seems like it comes down to planning and quality. Thorough planning, detailed budgets, contingency funds built in.
Absolutely critical. And investing in quality upfront. High-quality data collection, strong compliance from the start. That avoids expensive mistakes and rework down the line. Because rework, that's how budgets get blown out of the water.
Makes sense. And looking beyond just the money, what are the other big draws? The structural things.
It really synthesizes well. You've got the regulatory speed we mentioned, the CTN process, that's a big operational plus. And then there's the centralized healthcare system. It often makes finding and recruiting participants much faster and more predictable compared to, say, more fragmented systems elsewhere. Speed and predictability.
So wrapping this up for you, the listener, the key takeaway seems pretty clear. Australia presents a really compelling environment. You get this powerful combination of financial incentives, that massive R&D refund alongside significant operational advantages, streamlined rules, efficient infrastructure.
Right. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. If that R&D tax incentive can effectively slash the net cost of a phase 1 trial by nearly half, what does that actually mean for drug development pipelines? Does that save capital just get plowed into accelerating the next more expensive trial phases?
Hmm.
Or does it potentially free up funds for entirely new, maybe riskier, pioneering research projects? Something to think about.
A very important question indeed, something critical to consider. And that's our deep dive for today.